Chapter 1: Introduction to Tragedy. What if I told you that behind the familiar smile of the man you all knew and loved was a story you didn't even know you had? A story that would leave you in shock. Dustin Diamond wasn't just your childhood star, he was the hero of a tragedy that no one saw coming. What was he hiding? What was going on behind the scenes of his life? And why is his death more than just a tragedy? Stay tuned, and you'll learn the truth that no one dared to tell. Today we're going to tell the story of Dustin Diamond, the actor who became a legend thanks to his role as Screech in Saved by the Bell. But behind the mask of a cheerful character there was a real drama, full of unresolved mysteries and unseen battles. This story will not leave you indifferent and will make you reconsider everything you knew about Dustin. Don't forget to give it a like if you want more intriguing stories like this. Chapter 2: Rise of a Star. Dustin Diamond was born in San Jose, California on January 7, 1977. From an early age, he showed an interest in acting, and his parents, noticing his talent, began to support his ambitions. As early as age 11, Dustin landed a role that changed his life forever. In 1988, Diamond joined the cast of the show Good Morning, Miss Bliss, which later became known as Saved by the Bell. His character, Samuel Screech Powers, quickly gained the love of viewers. Screech became a symbol of the 90s, the epitome of innocence and friendliness. But who knew that behind the image of a comical character hid a real personal struggle? What happens when you become famous at a young age? How does a teenager's life change when popularity hits? And what does it do to a person to have a role to play not only on screen but also in real life? Many saw only the outside of Diamond's success, but in the shadows of his life, problems began to pile up. One of the biggest difficulties was that he was never able to step out of the shadow of his character. How does it feel to be locked into a character that will forever be with you? How did Dustin deal with that? He became a hostage to Screech, and that character haunted him for the rest of his life. Chapter 3: Falling into the Abyss. After the series Saved by the Bell ended in 1993, Dustin's career began to fade rapidly. He was tried in other projects, but none of them achieved even a fraction of the success of Saved by the Bell. Dustin was in the shadow of his character, and it was a real tragedy for him. He tried himself in various spheres, from comedy shows to musical projects. However, despite all efforts, he never managed to get rid of the stigma of actor of one role. This situation gave Diamond a sense of despair and hopelessness. How does it feel to realize that your career, which was once at the top, will never again reach those heights? How does one live with the realization that their best days are behind them? And what does one do when there seems to be no way out? Over the next few years, Dustin faced insurmountable odds. With each failed project, his depression deepened. Gradually, his name became associated not with success, but with failure and scandal. Chapter 4: Personal Battles and Scandals. With the loss of popularity, dark events began to take place in Diamond's life. In 2006, he found himself at the center of a scandal that changed his life forever. The release of a home video featuring him caused a wave of outrage and surprise. Although Diamond later denied his involvement in the distribution of the video, his reputation was tarnished forever. Why did the actor, who was the idol of millions, find himself in such a situation? What pushed him to take this step? Was it a desperate attempt to get attention or something more? But this was only the first of many scandals. In 2014, Diamond was arrested for his involvement in a bar fight that left a man injured. The events surrounding his arrest and subsequent trial made headline news in the tabloids. These scandals only served to further alienate him from his community and friends. Financial problems also plagued Diamond throughout his life. Despite his success as a child, he was unable to keep the money he earned. He repeatedly tried to regain financial stability by publishing autobiographical books and participating in various projects, but all these attempts failed. How does it feel to be a public figure when everything you do turns against you? Could Diamond have avoided these problems, or was his fate sealed? Chapter 5: Fighting Cancer. In January 2021, after years of battling life's setbacks, the world learned the terrible news that Dustin Diamond had been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. It was a real shock to both his fans and his loved ones. It seemed as if fate was dealing him a crushing blow once again. The cancer was discovered at such a late stage that doctors could no longer offer effective treatment. Dustin began a course of chemotherapy, but his condition was rapidly deteriorating. He tried his best to hold on, hoping for a miracle, but the disease was merciless. Why was the cancer detected so late? Could Dustin have saved his life if he had sought medical help earlier? Or was he simply tired of fighting and resigned to his fate? On February 1st, 2021, only 3 weeks after the diagnosis, Dustin Diamond deceased. He was only 44 years old. His death shook the world, but not questions on which no one saw and not found the answer. Why did it take him so long to seek help? Was he alone in his final days, or was someone close by? Chapter 6: The Legacy of Dustin Diamond. Dustin Diamond left behind a complicated legacy. On the one hand, he forever remains in the memory of the viewer as a scritch, symbol 90th and symbol carefree baby for many. But the other side, his life reminds us of how hard it is to be an actor of the same role and how fast can him weak. He became an example of how show business can change a person's life, what the price of popularity is, and how dangerous it is to be hostage to your image. How many of us have thought about the fact that behind the images on the screen are real people with their own problems and weaknesses? What do you think about the fate of Dustin Diamond? What role did he play in your life, and how do you feel about his tragic end? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Chapter 7: A Story of Hidden Pain. Throughout his life, Dustin Diamond never showed his true pain to the public. Despite his many scandals and failures, he tried to maintain the image of the fun-loving man everyone knew and loved. But behind the scenes of his life, very different things were happening. Public personalities often face pressures that ordinary people do not suspect. They have to hide their emotions and fight their inner demons while remaining under the scrutiny of the public. What is it like to be a public figure and constantly hide your pain? Why do we so rarely give much thought to what goes on behind the scenes of a celebrity's life? Dustin was no exception. He had to battle depression, loneliness, and insecurity. He never felt fully accepted in society and often felt like an outsider in a world that once loved him so much. Chapter 8: Last Days and Unexpected Discoveries. Dustin Diamond's death left behind many questions. One of the most mysterious aspects of his passing is how quickly his illness progressed. Many wonder if he could have lived longer if he had sought medical attention in time. There are theories that Diamond simply couldn't believe his health was in such a critical situation. Perhaps he ignored the symptoms for too long or simply didn't want to recognize that his time was coming to an end. There were very few people around him during his final days, and many are wondering who supported him during this difficult moment. Why didn't anyone pay attention to his condition earlier? Who is to blame for the fact that he was never able to get the necessary help in time? Share your opinion in the comments and give us a like if you think we need more such stories about forgotten stars. Chapter 9: Screech's Legacy. Dustin Diamond will be remembered by millions of people as Screech, a good-natured and slightly awkward guy who was always willing to help his friends. But his life is also a reminder that popularity and success don't always bring happiness. Dustin struggled to find his way after Saved by the Bell, but was never able to step out of his character's shadow. His life was full of ups and downs, and despite all the difficulties, he continued to fight to the end. How would his fate have changed if he had been able to free himself from Screech's image? What would have happened if he had been able to find himself in a different role? Chapter 10, Final Thoughts. Dustin Diamond's story is not just a story about tragedy, it's also a lesson for all of us. It's a reminder of the importance of appreciating life, taking care of your health, and not being afraid to seek help in times of need. We all remember him as that funny guy from the screen, but now we know there was real drama behind that smile. What do you think could have changed his fate? Share your thoughts in the comments. And, of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new interesting stories.